Welcome back to the Internet Paladins radio show. We are in Granada. The weather is amazing, probably more amazing than wherever you currently are.
Guaranteed.
Ha
Guaranteed.
ha. No, we're just kidding. We're not really jerks. Well, Jamal's a little bit of a jerk, but I'm a squeaky clean.
A little bit.
I'm with Jamal. I'm the Spaniard, and what were we just talking about?
Well, I asked you last time what you do if aliens offered to take you back to their advanced, wanderer society, with the price being that you have to personally destroy the Earth, which is going to be scheduled for destruction anyway. And you had answered that you would not go with them, I believe.
Yeah, I would not go with them because I can't have 7 billion murders, tagged onto my soul. I think that would create a problem eventually. But what if it's destiny? What if it's supposed to happen? What if that's the end? What if it is preordained that is how the Earth is destroyed? And this kind of veers into, sort of religious, philosophical territory, but that's another way to think about it, right? Like, what if it's meant to happen? If it's meant to happen anyway, is it a bad thing? Well, what do you feel about that? Even though it's my question, what do you feel about?
Well, the fact, whether or not something is destined to happen, unfortunately, can never really be known until it's already happened. Even after that, I suppose you can never know. Well, I guess something that has happened was destined to happen because it happened. But
it's sort of a paradox, isn't it? Right? On one hand, you can't know what's going to happen. But on the other hand,
if you have the knowledge of destiny, then you have the power to change. So that creates a paradox. Yeah. So if I am destined to scratch my nose, and I know this, and then I don't scratch my nose, does the universe explode? Or so? I mean,
but what if the destiny wasn't actually for you to scratch your nose, but to make you think that you were going to scratch your nose and to avoid it in an attempt to avoid destiny? But then, on the same hand, that means you wouldn't know destiny, right? So it's a constant paradox. I don't know. It's weird. It stretches the mind. You know what else stretches the mind? The fact that the United States, which spends more money on defense than the rest of the world combined, and has so much firepower that if the rest of the world declared war on it, they would probably lose, is currently slowly being encircled and challenged by other countries and their militaries. For example, Iran has just sent some warships through the Suez Canal, through the Mediterranean, through the Straits of Gibraltar, across the Atlantic, and they will soon be sitting off the shores of the eastern coast of the United States in a show of force.
What? First of all, I guess that explains what I saw the other day when I was looking down at the Pillars of Hercules, but I guess that was more than a couple of days ago. But man, to think that the Iranians sent the doom of their country past us just a couple of weeks ago is pretty interesting. So they're parking their fleet of, what, like fishing boats, or what is it they have? I guess they have a bunch of destroyers or mine layers or something, right?
Yeah, like they're not, and that's another thing. The media sort of does the propaganda spin on it because in the West, because obviously, well, I guess the United States could if it wanted to, but it would be an outcry. But America can't do anything about these ships, right? They can't do anything about it. So they spin it to make it look like, oh, Iran is a threat, so we gotta keep our fleets in the Strait of Hormuz. We have to, prepare for a strike on Iran. This and that. And but in reality, it's probably just as you said, a couple of destroyers, like nothing.
I just checked and found out what it is. It's actually a single frigate and an accompanying supply ship.
So really, it's nothing. It's nothing except a visit, right?
Yeah. Let's see here. They've announced their intent to deploy naval vessels close to the United States. They made 2 such declarations 3 years ago, but never followed through. However, it looks like this time the fleet is already underway, approaching the South Atlantic through waters off the coast of Africa. So it's a symbolic gesture, does not pose any real military risk. Of course it doesn't pose any risk. One frigate versus however many carrier task forces the Americans keep out there. Hell, even our own fishing fleet here in Spain could probably sink them.
Yeah, for sure.
Iran will use the deployment to show the flag in a non-threatening manner. How is sending a warship halfway around the world non-threatening? Especially when we're talking about Americans who, when an Iranian person just moves there to become a doctor, they assume that he's going to, demolish the neighborhood with a nuke.
Yeah.
So
it's ridiculous.
I don't know. Well, that's entertaining.
Yeah, and China as well as Russia are also doing things apparently to annoy the United States, but maybe it's just because the sun is setting on the American empire. It happens, right?
Yeah. Of course, now that you said that, they're probably going to send some operatives over here to find us and question us.
Probably. And
well, that's okay. We'll make them some delicious drinks and then unleash the bulls. But anyhow,
some delicious tea. All right. What else is happening in the world that we should know about?
Well, I got a couple of things we could talk about, but I'm not really sure if any of these are particularly interesting. Here's an interesting article that will divide listeners between the two guys in the southern United States and the one guy in Denmark who are listening to us. It says here that from a publication called American Thinker. There's an oxymoron. American Thinker publication. There are those in this country who view any separation of the genders along any lines at all to be discriminatory. They literally view the words men and women above bathroom entrances in the same vein as signs in the 1940s that read whites and coloreds above the same doors. Well, that's a bold claim. But anyhow.
Very interesting. That's a lot. That's a lot more interesting a subject than you gave it credit for. That is vastly interesting.
Yeah. So someone's asking, are men and women equal, equivalent? And then somebody decides to ask the dictionary, which is never the most exciting conversation partner, but equivalent, equal in force, amount, or value, equal in area or volume, but not superposable. Like in signification or import, as another example, equal in might or authority, corresponding or virtually identical, especially in effect or function. So by this definition, women and men are not really equivalent, I would say, right? So I don't know, what do you think? There are men and women, deserving of equality? Well, no, that's not the phrase the best way. Are men the same as women? Are men the same as women?
Are men the same? Well, obviously men and women are not the same, right? Obviously. You just look at men and women, they're not the same. But, to break it down, like, people examine this as a whole, right? They examine it as a whole. They don't see the trees for the forest, sort of like the opposite direction. For example, washrooms. Why do women and men need separate washrooms? Why?
It's because of shame.
Yeah, it is because of shame.
We're ashamed that our genitals look different from one another,
and you could have.
I guess maybe women don't want to see a man's large flopping dong peeing in front of her, but
and they don't, because washrooms could have stalls where women could have privacy and sit down, right? And then the men who need the stalls can use this, or the stand-up stalls or whatever. They can use those, right? There's no, it's almost an attitudinal difference in that regard, where it's almost strange, and I can't really see a reason why washrooms should be separated. Maybe there's a bit of a cultural thing where women like to gather together in the washroom and talk separately, but if that's true, then that means there are vast differences between men and women. And when you think about it, and you know what, there was actually on the news today, on the Madrid News Hour, which we get in Granada because we have a satellite that we stole off of someone else's house. Don't tell anyone. Basically, the show was arguing. Well, I guess it was arguing about the differences between men and women, and because it's Valentine's Day and stuff like that, they were going into all of that. And the woman speaking made a really, really interesting point, and that is that there are more differences biologically between men and women than there are between different races within the human species. There's more distance between men and women than there are between, say, Africans and Caucasians, that sort of thing. And I thought that was interesting. So in some regards, we're very different, but when it comes to washing, there's no, I can't see why. I really can't.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess you can blame England and all their Puritan crap that they forced on the world 100 years ago. But, oh dear, she saw my penis. And suddenly, the world comes to an end. But, no apologies to our British listeners because you guys are funny.
Well, being in Europe, we are familiar with the Roman bathroom, an object of particular interest of ours. An open air washroom where the biggest worry is passing the poo sponge, right? And as long as you got a poo sponge, you're good.
What do they call it? The lavatorium, I think.
Yeah, the lavatorium.
Which later became a feature of monasteries and stuff, where the monks would sit around to wash before meals. But I think based on the old the armariums or whatever they had, sorry, I'm thinking of something else. But anyway, the lavatoriums, a bunch of senators would sit around, grunting out loaves while discussing policy. Say, Senator, what do you think about the grain tax in aluminium? I think So it'd be interesting.
Well, if they're making sounds like that, they would probably want to lower the grain tax so that more fiber could be had in diets.
I would think so. I would hope so.
You know what?
And then they could just bend over and wash each other's asses with the sponges that they kept on sticks for that purpose. So I don't know. Do you really want to go back to that?
No, I don't. But luckily, even in a co-ed washroom, that probably wouldn't be necessary. Hopefully.
No.
I'm hoping.
you just look over and there's a man bending over with his ass pointed at you expectingly. It's just, I've got a meeting in 10 minutes. Could you hurry it up? And, how do we get on this subject?
I don't know, but see, anyway. At the same time, I don't want to bend over and have to wield the windshield wiper to negate all the ketchup dripping from the crotch of,
Well, that's not what Steve told me.
Well, Oh, Steve.
Yeah, Steve. Anyhow.
Yeah. Okay. I was basically saying that similarly, I wouldn't want to have to be the guy who turns around to wipe the ketchup with a windshield wiper off our female friends in the lavatorium.
Wipe the ketchup off. You didn't win any friends from the female audience today, my friend. But I don't think either of us ever will.
Well, hey, it's an argument against the lavatorium, and I think they would agree with us, and that we're on the right track with our line of thinking. No,
that's true.
No, we're not. No.
And,
yeah, we are. We are the Internet Paladins. So,
yep.
What we say? Okay, it is time for an impossible question. Are you ready?
I am. Well, as ready as I can be. Hit me.
I got 60 seconds in which to ask you this, and then you can give your answer in the next show. Okay.
Okay.
You've had a lobotomy. Okay, you've had a lobotomy, and it's made it so that you can only see the positive in everything. Okay? You end up in downtown Atlanta. Okay? And it is your role and task during Black History Month to explain to your audience why apartheid was a good thing. And that is going to wrap up our segment, and I'm going to leave Jamal with that answer. Black guy, lobotomy, Atlanta, apartheid.
Wow.
Turkey sandwiches.
Nail biter. Sounds good right now.
We'll be right back.